Yeah, Lauren was my neighbor.
Stephen McDaniel once told a friend that he had a foolproof plan for the perfect murder.
I saw her like midday a couple weeks ago. I don't know anyone that would want to hurt her. Why would anyone do this? I just heard something. Maybe I could have helped.
Okay, don't worry.
As nice a person as there is.
He was wrong.
You're gonna look at this right here, this little girl right here, and you're gonna say you don't know? Girls didn't show you the respect that you deserve. You did something stupid. There's blood in your apartment, Stephen. Stephen, why is there blood in your bathroom? What are you gonna say tomorrow when I say we got your hair with the body? Your hair is there, man. Your hair is there.
I didn't do it.
June 30th, 2011, Lauren Giddings would be reported as a missing person in the town of Macon, Georgia. We now know that by then, Lauren would have already been gone for 4 days. Having recently graduated from Mercer Law School and on the verge of taking the bar exam, Lauren Giddings was poised to begin a promising career as a defense attorney. Unbeknownst to her, during the weeks leading up to her disappearance, an unknown killer had been closely monitoring her every move. As the news began spreading, her friends and family desperately searched for her. However, an unexpected suspect came into focus, not because of an overwhelming amount of evidence against him, but because of his own meltdown that was broadcasted on live television.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of. I think that's where they have recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body?
Had you heard? Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there?
Stephen McDaniel unwittingly became the protagonist in a chilling real-life murder movie that was unfolding live on TV for the entire nation to follow. The footage and the dramatic change in McDaniel's demeanor during the interrogation phase that followed provides a unique look into the mind of a cunning killer who was convinced he'd gotten away with it.
No one has seen her since Saturday. I haven't seen anything. I mean, the only thing we can think is that maybe she went out running and someone snatched her.
Only to discover he was dead wrong. Lauren Giddings was a 27-year-old recent graduate of Mercer University School of Law in Mercer, Georgia. She was described by friends and family as outgoing and sociable, something which couldn't be said of her next-door neighbor and fellow Mercer Law graduate, 25-year-old Stephen McDaniel.
How long have you lived next to Lauren?
Since I started law school back in, it'd be August of '08, I think.
When was the last time you think you seen Lauren?
It was either last week or the week before that.
Okay. Is there anything that you could tell me today or add to your statement that could help me locate Lauren?
I can't think of anything.
The two had lived next to each other since McDaniel moved in and began attending the school 3 years earlier, but despite this, they were far from true friends. Within 6 months of Stephen moving in, and only the second time they'd ever met, he'd asked her out on a date and been rejected. Giddings later admitted that when she told him she just wanted to be friends, it was a lie. In truth, Stephen gave her the creeps, and she even contemplated moving out many times. Found inside Lauren's apartment in a sad twist of fate, her own calendar listing June 30th as the day she planned to finally go through with the move. It would be just 1 day before she was reported missing, perhaps explaining the timing of Stephen's eventual crime.
We're just trying to find out where she is at this point. I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday.
Lauren would admit to friends a creeping suspicion of someone breaking into her apartment while she was away. After returning from a trip, she told her sister that items seemed to have been moved around. When she arrived home late at night, she felt as if she was being watched. It turned out her instincts were correct, and she had all the reason in the world to worry. Stephen had been secretly recording Lauren going in and out of her apartment. We would later uncover he had also been recording inside of it for some time now. Shortly before her death, she sent an email to her boyfriend, David Vandiver, telling of an awkward conversation with a friend who was asking probing questions about their relationship.
The email she sent me at 10:13 Saturday night started off, I literally read it while I was in the rental car, and I saw the first line. It goes, I just had an uncomfortable or awkward conversation with Garen. And I thought it was going to lead into a whole he wants to know when y'all are getting married, stuff like that. So I just put it down. That I'm just like, I'm not ready for that, and I put the phone down.
Vandever, on his way to a Southern California airport, was annoyed but ultimately dismissive of the encounter. I'm like, wow, why is this particular person jumping into what I presume to be probing questions about where Lauren and I were going relationship-wise? The email would go on to discuss normal, routine topics such as Lauren's upcoming move until making a sudden and startling shift. She described an attempted break-in just a few nights prior, describing the perpetrators as hoodlums. David would later tell reporters that he believed Lauren started the email, but her killer may have finished it. Was there a knock on the door while she was writing that she didn't get to finish and somebody hit send? McDaniel? I don't know, David said, but I do think she at least started that email. We may never know the truth behind David's theory, but one thing we do know, McDaniel wouldn't have had to knock because he had a key. At some point, Stephen had stolen the master key to all apartments in the Barristers Hall complex and was in possession of a duplicate key to Lauren's. This would be the final steps to a perfect murder that was years in the making.
Howdy.
Well, almost perfect. Lauren Giddings was born in Tacoma Park, Maryland on April 18, 1984. She was the oldest of 3 daughters and the first in her family to attend college, earning degrees in political science and religious studies at Agnes Scott College. She had graduated from Mercer Law just 1 month prior to her disappearance and had taken a few weeks off to relax and celebrate her sister Caitlin's wedding before beginning the arduous process of studying for the bar exam. She told friends and family that when she returned, she would be holed up in her apartment studying nonstop, after which she hoped to become a defense attorney. Because of this, her sister Caitlin wasn't concerned when she hadn't heard from her sister for a couple of days. But when this turned into 3 and then 4, with all forms of communication left unanswered, she realized something was desperately wrong and that she had to take action.
Her phone was off, and I immediately was like, this isn't right.
She contacted Lauren's friends at Mercer, who to her dismay had grown equally concerned. No one had seen or heard from Lauren in days. However, her car was still parked outside the apartment, and after finding the spare key, she left hidden outside under a white vase. Bracing for the worst, they let themselves in. Inside the apartment, no physical sign of Lauren, but sitting on a table, her purse, along with her ID and keys, including the key to her apartment. That night, Lauren's father drove thousands of miles to Macon, and a missing persons report was officially filed 4 days after her disappearance. With little else to go on, investigators began with those closest to Lauren. Here, her close friend Ashley Morehouse described the last time she saw her.
When was the last time you've actually physically seen Lauren?
It would be early Saturday morning at about 4 a.m. That Friday night, we went out to the bar, and she came back to my boyfriend's place to stay for the evening.
Did you see Lauren when you woke up that morning?
No.
You're just assuming she was there.
Yes.
Did you ever see her or talk to her again?
No.
Along with Ashley and other close friends, they spoke to her next-door neighbor, Stephen McDaniel. Stephen's lying when he says that he hasn't seen Lauren for at least a week, and the video he shot himself on the night of her death would prove it. As is routine, the investigators asked to search all of the residents' apartments. Everyone was allowed to refuse the search, but curiously, only one person did, Stephen. He claims the reason behind his reluctance is the lawyer in him, and also notes the existence of his guns. When Stephen eventually does consent to his search, he reportedly sweats profusely the entire time. When the other apartments were eventually searched, Stephen stood around, closely watching investigators. As the days went on, the case began to attract significant media attention, and Stephen, roused by the attention his atrocious acts were receiving, found himself drawn to the camera's curious glow. When approached by a local news reporter, he simply couldn't help himself. It was finally his moment to shine. Little did Stephen know, however, investigators had already made a gruesome discovery mere feet from where he was standing. But until then, he would still have a few moments to enjoy his 15 minutes of fame.
We don't know where she is. The only thing we can think is that maybe she went out running and someone snatched her. Because we went over. One of her friends had a key. We went inside.
Note the consistent use of "we" in his description of the events surrounding the disappearance. Stephen continuously lumps himself in with Lauren's true friends, while also separating the real culprit, himself, or in this instance, the pronoun I, from the crime.
And tried to see if there was anything amiss, but she had a door jamb that was sitting right by it, so there was no sign that anyone broke in. The door was locked when everyone got here. Then, as if a detective on a television show, Stephen rattles off reasons as to why the situation is strange. In hindsight,
It's clear these are subtle attempts at diversion. But when the truth is revealed, the reality of Stephen's situation hits him in one awesome wave. His reaction to hearing the news of a body being found could easily be interpreted as shock and concern. His alleged friend is missing, and there's a more than decent chance that it is her. In hindsight, it appears that by this point, Stephen felt he was in the clear. This is why he felt so confident giving an interview on TV. In all likelihood, he probably assumed that Lauren's body was long gone by now, cast away in the county dump. Now, upon realizing the key piece of evidence has been found, Stephen can no longer stand. Earlier, as police had been standing near the apartment building, the wind carried the smell of something that detectives were all too familiar with, the stench of human decay. Their noses led them to the trash cans behind Barrister's Hall, where they found the torso of a white female clad in women's jogging shorts. An investigator stated, "While we were standing there, the wind started to turn. Immediately, I smelled an odor that I was very familiar with. We all smell things in life that smell bad. And that of a body or a decomposing body is one of the worst things you'll smell." After days of him hanging around and in light of the new discovery along with the TV interview, they decided that now was the time to bring Stephen in for another round of questioning. This time, however, his demeanor would be noticeably different.
All right. I just got to ask you a few more questions. Okay. You came down earlier tonight, me and you talked, all right. You don't have any weapons on you, do you? No. That's just you are. What's wrong?
Stephen's tactic seems to arrive fully formed, and the investigator immediately notes Stephen's abrupt reversal in conversational style and tone. Mainly, there not being one at all.
Do you remember? Put your hands up here. You remember us talking earlier tonight?
The investigator closes the gap between himself and Stephen, a familiar tactic used to pressure suspects with physical intimidation. When under stress, an individual usually exhibits a biological tell. Facial expressions, body positioning, physiology, all can be used against a suspect by a canny interrogator.
I need to know about this girl right here. You know her?
Yes.
Who is that?
Lauren Giddings.
It's textbook. Begin at a safe and comfortable distance, ask simple and basic questions. But then, as the questions become more pointed, the interviewer closes the gap, invades their intimate space, and the subject will become uncomfortable lying. These techniques came about based on the study of proxemics, the human use of space, and the effects that population density has on behavior, communication, and social interaction. In the words of one of North America's most successful interrogators in recent history, Mr. Charles G. Brown, when an interviewer creates a high level of anxiety for a psychologically normal person by invading this personal space, it becomes increasingly more difficult for the subject to lie.
Does she live next door to you?
Yes.
When's the last time you seen her?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Was you friends with Lauren?
Yes.
Look at me when you talk to me, son. Okay?
The investigator makes one more attempt at invading Stephen's personal space. By demanding eye contact, he expects to gain leverage that the biological response only eye-to-eye contact can elicit. Instead, Stephen proves the old adage that eyes are the windows to the soul, and whatever the investigator sees there, he appears to find them lacking, because he's the one to flinch.
Was you friends with her?
Yes.
Close friends?
We were good.
I mean, y'all were friends, right? Both of
Yes.
y'all are law students. You're studying to be an attorney, right?
Yes.
What kind of law do you want to go into? Criminal law?
Yes.
Civil? Is that what you want to do for a living?
Yes.
Okay.
From this moment onward, Stephen will try his best to maintain eye contact with the investigator at all times. Literally, like all the time. Almost out of spite for the earlier command. Whether out of mockery or an urge to intimidate, it is an unsettling physical display.
If you knew where she was, would you tell me?
Yes.
What do you think happened to her?
I don't know.
Earlier, while speaking in front of the cameras, Stephen had a theory as to what could possibly have happened to Lauren.
The only thing we can think is that maybe she went out running and someone snatched her.
In fact, he was quite articulate on the point. Now he can only manage 3 meager words. However, as an experienced law student, Stephen knows that any false move in this room will be held against him. The investigator, perhaps unused to questioning someone with such knowledge, only asks closed-ended questions. This doesn't give Stephen a chance to elaborate on his responses, thus giving him less chances to slip up and incriminate himself.
You said you didn't have any other cars, right?
Right.
Well, why would everybody you went to school with for the last 3 and 4 years said that you own another car other than that Geo Prism? Everybody I've talked to, all your friends you were in school with. people that you worked at the district attorney's office with said you have other cars other than that car. And you're going to sit here today and tell me you don't have another car?
I don't.
Well, where's it at?
I don't have one.
You never had another car besides that jail prison.
No.
So if I call your granddaddy, he's going to tell me that you only have one car.
Yes.
What's his phone number?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do, because I already have his number. Who do you think took Lauren away?
I don't know.
Well, I need your help. Can you give me some, what is your observation of this? I know you're smarter, okay? I know you have an observation you can tell me. What do you think happened to her?
I think someone took her.
You think, I mean, you watch TV shows, right? Like
Yes.
detective shows. What's your observation? How do you think somebody would take her? If somebody did take her.
When she was running.
The investigator appeals to Stephen's ego, calling him smart and asking for his help before Stephen once again theorizes that she was taken while running. This is a common tactic used against suspected murderers. It's been shown that people who commit horrific murders often have antisocial personality disorder. Individuals with this personality disorder are typically very grandiose. They feed off the admiration and praise of others for having what they believe are superior human qualities. The detective calling Stephen smart would certainly play on a perpetrator's grandiose beliefs about themselves and make it more likely that they will respond. In the case of Stephen McDaniel, this attempt appeared to fail.
I mean, earlier today, me and you sit here and talk normal. What's going on with you now? Why are you acting like this? I need to know. Why all of a sudden you're acting like this?
I don't understand.
Okay. Earlier today, we sat here and talked. But now you're acting like you don't know what's going on. I mean, did something happen or something to you? I mean, why are you shutting down? Why are you not talking to me?
I don't know.
You don't know? Are you scared?
No.
I mean, you're not scared, are you?
No.
Are you sad that something happened to Lauren? If that's her in that trash can?
Yes.
During the first interview, Stephen created a baseline of behavior, which is defined as a steady state of behavior against which the effects of introducing an independent variable may be compared. By veering so drastically from his original baseline for the second interview, instead of throwing investigators off, he's driven it directly to him and aroused intense suspicion.
You don't know.
No.
That's what you want me to tell her mother and her father, is that you don't know.
I don't know.
Not that you're sorry that she's missing. Not that you've been trying to help me all day find her, but you just wanted me to tell her I don't know.
I don't know.
Are you a sorry piece of shit that you want me to tell her that? You got your ass on that fucking news and stood out there and gave a media report that her mother saw about her missing daughter. And you want me to sit there and tell him that you don't know? Is that what you want me to tell him? Because you're all over the news. You sure stood out there and ran your mouth to the news media. But now you're going to get out here and you don't fucking know. You know. You're just a sorry piece of shit that don't give a fuck.
The investigator is becoming frustrated. He's attempting to appeal to Stephen's sense of empathy for his own victims when in reality he has none. He lashes out, becomes aggressive, and calls Stephen names. This could be a new tactic on an otherwise taciturn Stephen, or simply an act of blowing off steam by the investigator. As another investigator enters the room, Stephen barely flinches. While this could be a sign of hyperfocus, it also appears to be a trait the investigators will pick up on.
What's up, bud?
When this investigator enters the room, the mood visibly changes. Not only is it now 2 against 1, but this detective has clearly come more prepared with an authoritative attitude.
You talked to him about his guns?
Yeah.
When was the last time you shot those guns?
I haven't.
You've never shot a gun?
No.
Have you ever shot any gun in your whole life?
No.
Never.
No.
So you bought 3 guns that you've never shot.
Yes.
Why?
To have.
For what?
To have.
For what? I'm asking for what? Why do you want to have them? What makes, did they give you, I mean, tell me why it's important to you to have 3 guns.
This investigator begins asking Stephen a series of open-ended questions, which gives Stephen a chance to elaborate, albeit he does so only slightly.
That's an easy question. Come on, talk to me, buddy. Me and you talked all day today. We ain't had a problem communicating. Why is it important for you to have 3 guns? Do you not know?
No.
Okay. This pretty little girl right here, your neighbor, she's missing.
The investigator closes the gap, and just like with the previous investigator, Stephen maintains eerily direct eye contact.
If me and you friends, we live next door to each other, every time I look out when I see, oh, there's my buddy going in. Because we friends. I'm going to pay attention to when you come in and out. Didn't you just tell me that y'all were friends?
Yes.
But you didn't pay attention to when she came in and out?
No.
Stephen, you're lying. Now you're lying. You're just lying. That's a lie. You ever see her come in and out of her apartment?
Yes.
You did? When was the last time?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Like last week maybe?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Stephen, you understand that everything that you're saying here doesn't make any sense at all. None. None. You totally contradict everything that relates to human behavior. We have skills to be able to observe things, to hear things, to see things. There are natural things out there that draw our attention every day. Such as when you're driving down the road, if somebody hits the horn, you look around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just a natural reaction. If you're sitting in your living room, you hear the door slam next to you, you automatically think, my neighbor's home. Right? You're telling me that those kind of things don't happen in your life.
You asked if I watched. I didn't watch.
Have you noticed that she's came in and out of her house in the last week or 2?
I don't remember.
The investigators have grown visibly frustrated and are showing it in their raised voices, exasperated body language.
We need to know where your other car is at. I already know you own another car, okay?
I don't own another
Yes,
car.
you do.
Do you use another car?
You
Whose
have
car do you
another
use?
car. It's not
I
your
only
name.
use mine.
No,
Oh, you don't, Steve.
you've been using somebody else's car.
No.
Everyone I interviewed today say you have another car. These people aren't making this up. You have another vehicle.
No, I don't.
So your grandfather's a liar. Is that what you're saying? You're calling your grandfather a liar. I just talked to him. And he said you own another car.
I don't.
So he's lied to me.
Stephen, we're telling way too many lies in here.
So you're telling me they're lying?
You're willing to tell me that you're a virgin and that you told me you jack off the porn on the internet, but you don't want to admit to having another car. That makes me think you got something to hide, Stephen. That concerns me. You tell me things that most people wouldn't tell somebody else, but yet you lie about something simple.
Why are you
about
trying to
having
hide
another
that
car.
you have another car? What's the big deal?
I don't have.
I got 3 cars.
You do. You do.
No, I don't.
It's not at your
Well, what
house.
happened to it?
I've never had another car.
That's the only car you ever had in Macon.
Yes.
Okay, let me go talk to him again, because that's not what he's saying.
Investigators will continue to bring up the possibility of Stephen having a second vehicle. The reason they are so adamant on this belief of Stephen owning a second car will soon become apparent. As the investigation of the property was underway, security camera footage from outside the apartment building show a man lurking around the premises on the night of the murder. Being as Stephen did not own a second vehicle, this attempt actually worked against the investigators. For one, Stephen does not have to lie about not owning a second car, so he is able to answer with full confidence without hesitation. And secondly, if Stephen had any doubts that the officers had footage of him entering Lauren's apartment on the night of the attack, those worries would slowly dissolve.
If I was asking you, did you just rob a bank? If you didn't, you'd say no, not I don't know, right?
Right.
So why do you say I don't know?
Because I don't know.
You don't know if you had anything to do with that body?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What if I said I could prove that you did?
I don't know.
Could you explain it?
I don't know.
Today you told an investigator that you were worried about us possibly finding blood in your apartment.
It's unclear if the investigators have found blood in Stephen's apartment at this point or not, but the idea is more than plausible. If Stephen wasn't nervous before, he should now be terrified. This is known as the futility technique, and used to convince the suspect that it is useless to resist any further.
Did you see blood?
No.
Then what would make you think that there was blood taken over there? Nothing would make you think that unless you saw it. Because see, I didn't see no blood. None of the other Lawrence friends saw blood, but I know now that blood was there. And now I believe you saw it. You saw that blood. You know that blood was there. And that's why you're worried about it.
No.
Did you know? Why do you have blood up in the inside of your nose?
I don't know.
Stephen, this is hard, buddy. I know this is hard. And I can tell it's on you. You want to let it go. There's blood in your apartment, Stephen. You didn't get it all up. It didn't all come off. You scrubbed and you wiped. But we can tell that. Don't you wipe CSI? Yeah, we know it. Stephen, why is there blood in your bathroom?
I don't know.
Yes, you do know. Why, Stephen?
I don't know.
Has anybody else been in your bathroom?
The police were in there.
Other than the police? Who else has been in there?
No one that I know.
No one. And you recently cleaned your bathroom, didn't you?
No.
How long ago?
I don't remember.
A couple days ago?
No.
Over the weekend?
No.
No, you don't know.
I don't remember cleaning it.
Do you use drugs?
No.
You ever use acid?
No.
Are you on medication?
No.
You're lying, Stephen. I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell it. I wanted to be here with you to go through that process because I know you're not a monster, man. I know you're not a bad guy. You're just a hard-working student trying to pass a bar exam, ain't you? You ain't got a lot of support from your family, do you?
Yes.
The investigator attempts to sympathize with Stephen, bringing up his family.
You do? A lot of people can't say that. And the fact that you do have support from your family should make things easier because your family wants to feel like they've raised somebody that tells the truth and is honest, right?
Yes.
Stephen keeps him on his toes, correcting him when he said he didn't have a supportive one. The investigator moves along, using it to his advantage.
Did you hurt that girl, Stephen?
No.
Have you ever hurt anyone, Stephen?
No.
You've never hurt anyone.
No.
I've hurt people, Stephen. I've made mistakes in my life. It's not even normal to say you've never hurt anybody. Sometimes people get mad and they say things they don't mean to say. It hurts. You never kicked a dog or a cat?
No.
He then lets his guard down even further, even admitting that he himself has hurt people in his life. By blaming a family or girls that possibly rejected him, the investigator is creating an external source of blame for the crime, giving Stephen an excuse to blame something or someone other than himself.
You know what's crazy? I was talking to people that he works with and everything. They talk about how he's always expresses himself.
But he don't know.
He's very talkative. Stephen, they say you're so talkative, buddy, that you're always so friendly. You stop in and say hello, and you talk. Why is it that you're acting so short with us tonight? If you have all this character and personality about you, why is it that everything that we get from you is yes, no, or I don't know?
I don't know.
Famous self-improvement writer Dale Carnegie wrote that give someone a fine reputation to live up to, and they will make prodigious efforts rather than see you disillusioned. Perhaps by stating Stephen's reputation for talkativeness, the investigator was hoping it would come true. Instead, Stephen was determined yet again to prove him wrong.
I want the truth, Stephen.
I don't know where she is.
Let me ask you this. I truly believe you don't know where she is right now. Where was she yesterday?
I don't know.
Liar. That's right. You're lying. Why are you lying, Stephen?
I'm not lying.
Yes, you are lying. How long are you going to continue to do it? She's got a mother and a father and a family out there that is sick over everything. Where's their little girl, Stephen?
I don't know.
Stephen, you know. Where?
I don't know.
Stephen. You're going to look at this right here, this little girl right here, and you're going to say you don't know? I know you know.
I don't know.
Yes, you know. What are you going to say tomorrow when I say we got your hair with the body?
The investigator employs the futility technique again, but this time to an even weaker effect. As a lawyer, Stephen must see this particular hair tactic as a weak argument. It's been known that Stephen entered Lauren's apartment with her friends the day she was reported missing. This would explain his hair being found in the apartment, and you must know it would not hold up in court.
Because you know, like I go like that. Look at my hair. That's how easy it falls out. Look at all that on your head. You don't think none fell out? It did. It did, Stephen. We just wanted to give you an opportunity to tell it, so you didn't look like a monster at the end. Because you know what? I don't believe that you're a monster, Stephen. I believe that you're a good guy. You've been picked on. Girls didn't show you the respect that you deserved. You did something stupid. And I believe you feel bad about it. And that's why you're all freaked out right now. But I'm giving you the opportunity to get right. I'm giving you an opportunity to show everybody you're not a monster. That you feel bad about what happened. Your hair is there, man. Your hair is there. We got your hair with the body. How's that, Stephen?
I don't know.
Yes, you do know. Yes, you do know, Stephen. That's right, buddy. See that? Look at it. See how easy? It happens. And it happened to you. Why, Stephen?
I don't understand.
Oh, you understand? You understand exactly what I'm saying. See this stuff right here, your hair? Yeah, it fell out of your head when you was moving the body, Stephen. That's right. Do you remember moving the body?
No.
Yes, you do, Stephen. Tell me, bud.
I didn't do it.
Yes, you did, Stephen. Your hair's with the body. Quit lying. We want you to tell it so that way people will understand you're not a monster. Things just, you got out of control. It's a sickness.
Here the investigator abandons any pretense of assumed innocence and questions Stephen as if he's already confessed. He likely hopes that Stephen will slip up and say something incriminating.
You hurt this girl.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You hurt that girl. Why'd you hurt her, Stephen?
I didn't.
You hurt that girl. Did you try to make her have sex with you?
I didn't.
Huh? Who did it?
I don't.
They got your hair? They steal your hair and take it over there? Stephen, they steal your hair? They didn't, did they? Did they, Stephen? Did y'all have sex?
No.
Did you try to have sex?
No.
You think about having sex?
No.
Liar. What kind of man doesn't think about having sex? You said earlier you like girls, right?
Yes.
You said she's a pretty girl, right?
Yes.
What'd you do to her, Stephen?
I didn't do anything.
You're lying. You hurt that girl.
No, I didn't.
Sure it did, and that's why you're having this massive meltdown right now. Because you can't live with yourself, can you? It's overwhelming you, isn't it? Tell the truth, Stephen.
I didn't do it.
Who did it?
I don't know.
Yes, you do, Stephen. You hurt that girl.
No, I didn't.
Sure you did. Tell me what happened.
I don't know.
You tried to have sex with her.
No.
She didn't want to have sex with you.
I didn't do it.
She didn't want to have sex with you, Steve.
I don't know.
You don't know if she wanted to have sex with you?
I didn't do anything.
Yes, you did, Stephen. You went into her apartment, Stephen. And you hurt that girl.
No, I didn't.
You did, buddy. You hurt her, Stephen.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. Why won't you tell me, Stephen?
I didn't do it.
I'm gonna take this from me. You don't deserve to look at it. Just stay right here, okay?
Okay.
I appreciate all your cooperation tonight, okay?
Okay.
The investigator, making no progress, leaves the room. The entire time, Stephen stares at the door, unmoving. Perhaps Stephen is attempting to intimidate the officers, or perhaps he's simply in shock. If he's trying to come off as cool and calm, he seems anything but. Most people stir and fidget in some form or another, but Stephen is dead still for 5 whole minutes. The investigator mocks Stephen for spending his time online looking at porn and playing video games.
Did you know this Lauren's next door neighbor, Stephen McDaniel?
Very well. You know, Stephen could stay in there a long time and not come back out. And so I would like...
Just stay in his house, his apartment for days?
Yeah. And I would say, you know, and I don't know, like adopting a puppy or something, I'd say, Stephen, and and I also didn't always want to eat alone, so I'd say, let's go down to Five Guys.
He makes it sound like it's an unbelievable scenario, but turns out to be supported by the evidence. The investigator, running out of time and frustrated with a suspect he feels is guilty, decides to get a few last hits in. He makes sure they are below the belt.
To please tell me. Give me I know earlier today you told me you stayed home all weekend, right? In your apartment.
Yes.
And did anybody see you? Did you talk to anybody over the weekend? Were you on your computer all weekend? Is there anything I can look at that I can say he couldn't be involved because he was on the computer, or he was online on a porn site, or he was online doing college work, or anything that would exclude you as being involved altogether? I mean, did anybody see you this weekend at the house? Did you go out to get a newspaper? Did you wave to a neighbor, or you just locked yourself in all week?
Yes.
Nobody saw you?
No.
I mean, what do you just stay in the house all day?
Yes.
I mean, what do you do all day in the house?
Play video games.
By yourself?
Yes.
You never talk to anybody on the phone or anything?
If they call me.
Well, who calls you?
Parents.
I mean, you've always done that your whole life? You don't have no friends?
I have
How can you go
friends.
your whole life without a friend?
I have friends.
Where they at? Where they at? You have any friends here in Macon?
Yes.
Name one, because everybody I talked to said they ain't your friend.
Ryan Granger. Cass Lawson. Ashley Morehouse. Carmen Love.
That's the same people I talked to today. And they're not your friend. Okay? They're not your friend. We know what you did to her, so we just want to know if you were going to tell us or not.
I didn't do anything.
Well, that's what you say. But we know different. So, you're fucked either way. You're fucked. We already know. We know you killed her. We know you put her body in the trash can. Simple as that. The news media knows it. Glenda knows it, your mother. Your sister knows it. Your sister's husband knows it. The one that used to beat your sister. He knows it. You know what he said? He said he's a crazy motherfucker is what he said when I called him. That's your own family calling you crazy. Your own family said you're crazy. Nobody wants to see you. Nobody's coming to visit you. So you can sit there with that dumb look on your face. But it's over. You enjoyed yourself and it's all over now. Okay? Anything you want to say? I don't know.
I didn't do anything.
Well, that's what you say. Got plenty of time to think. You thought you were smarter than everybody else, but you're not. You're not. The sad thing about it is you probably could have made something with your life. But you chose a different route because, one, you don't have a girlfriend, and two, you're never going to get a girlfriend. Thought you were smarter than everybody, but you fucked up.
He betrays his role as a neutral fact finder, a main tenet of the famous Reed technique. But in the end, it wouldn't matter. By the end of the interrogation, Stephen has given the investigators almost nothing to go on. That was until they accessed Stephen's laptop. It was here officers would retrieve something invaluable to the investigation. Stephen had been making consistent online blog posts for months leading up to the discovery of Lauren's body. A couple posts in particular stood out more than others. For example, in one blog post, he would hint at his potential as a possible mass shooter. He writes, "I'd act like a completely different person. I'd stand around staring awkwardly, standing where I should be sitting, and having delayed simple responses to any question. I don't say thank you or anything implying emotion. In the middle of a conversation where I'm giving someone a 1,000-yard stare, I'd suddenly turn and walk away, bumping into anyone in my path without saying anything to them. I'd go outside, grab my kit out of the car, pop in a fresh mag, and proceed to slaughter the entire bigoted group, never once doing so much as uttering a sound. When they are all dead, and they do me to all be dead, I'd sit down on the ground with my gun several paces away from me and just rock back and forward on the ground, eyes wide and blank." As disturbing as this is, it's an important insight into the mind of Stephen McDaniel. While Lauren Giddings eventually became the focus of his obsession, these posts make it clear that for someone like Stephen, it was only a matter of time. Stephen continues, "Afterwards, I'd remain in this state for at least a day. No talking, no communication, blank, unfocused stares. I do not fall asleep either. Eventually, when some new stimulus is introduced, a family member I haven't seen, a picture of my brother or something like that, I shake my head from side to side, blink rapidly, and look around in a panicked manner, asking where I am, what's going on, if my family is okay, why I'm there, and when they ask, I'd say I had no memory of anything that happened after I arrived at the service." As this is exactly the tactic used during his second interrogation, and he knew for certain he had been caught, the post is even more damning. Imagine what his family must have felt sitting in court, hearing for the first time that their son and sibling planned to use them as unwitting pawns in his murderous plan. Or his father relying on anyone who would offer to help when he had to clean out Stephen's apartment and get rid of the furniture. Posts like these were the tip of a very large iceberg of evidence that police would soon find, damning Stephen McDaniel forever. A proper search warrant was issued for Stephen's apartment, revealing multiple incriminating items: guns, knives, 2 keys, including the apartment complex's master key, and a copy of Lauren's spare, which he likely retrieved from under the white vase. In addition, a laptop, a digital camera, external memory drives, and a flash drive which contained countless images of Lauren, all saved from her social media pages. During the investigation, even more disturbing and damning evidence would be found in Stephen's devices. Police found online searches of Lauren's name, along with more pictures, video of her inside her apartment, as well as a trove of child pornography. Police dogs had already discovered traces of human decomposition in Stephen's bedroom and the vacant apartment downstairs, and then they made another discovery. The hacksaw he used to dismember her would be found stashed away in the maintenance room. Tests would reveal traces of Lauren's DNA on the blade, and the packaging for the saw itself would be found in Stephen's apartment. Despite Stephen's stone-faced interrogation, his plans for a perfect murder ended up being anything but. The following day, he was charged with murder, and 2 weeks later, 7 counts of child exploitation. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. After consulting Lauren's mother, prosecutors chose not to pursue the death penalty. The Bibb County District Attorney's statement explained why. Recently, I met with the family of Lauren Giddings and discussed the case with them at length. At the close of the meeting, Lauren's mother and father asked me to withdraw the death notice. Although they believe that Mr. McDaniel deserves to be punished to the fullest extent of the law, they recognize that withdrawing the death notice will allow the case to proceed in a more timely fashion and will result in the state achieving justice for Lauren at a sooner date. In the interests of avoiding further delays, my office will not seek the death penalty for Mr. McDaniel. During an interview with police, Stephen's college roommate told investigators that Stephen was fixated on the concept of the perfect murder and would ask friends to describe their own hypothetical plan. He would then share his own well-crafted ideas, including using chloroform specifically on a female victim, and then dismembering the body in a bathroom before distributing the remains over a large area. Discussed 4 years before murder, this is nearly the exact fate of Lauren Giddings. Thankfully, because of his own mistakes and miscalculations, Stephen was quickly brought to justice. The murder of Lauren Giddings is full of strange coincidences and twists of fate, none more so than the fact of the discovery of her torso by police. Because of the high presence of emergency and police vehicles, garbage trucks couldn't reach the trash cans near the apartment building. Stephen had disposed of the other remains in different trash receptacles around campus during the night. Her arms, legs, and head were never found. If he had done likewise with the torso, it is likely the case of Laura Giddings would have always remained one of a missing person. Much later, after having plenty of time to consider it, Stephen would explain away his otherwise inexplicable behavior during the interview as follows. When the reporter informed him of Lauren's body being found, he began to hyperventilate and then suffered a seizure. He stated that police snatched him away from an EMT's care and dragged him directly into his second interrogation, the after effects of which, he claims, spoke for themselves. As part of Stephen's plea deal to escape the death penalty, he was forced to explain every detail of Lauren's death. Stephen told investigators that he used the stolen master key to access Lauren's apartment around 4:30 a.m. Wearing a mask and gloves, he crept over to Lauren's bed, stood over her, and watched her sleep. There, in the darkness and the calm before the storm, Stephen savored his long-awaited moment before all hell broke loose. Stephen shifted his weight, the sound of the creaking floorboards stirring Lauren awake. She sat up, looked straight at her masked intruder, and perhaps hoping this was only a nightmare, calmly told him to get out. Stephen wouldn't comply. He leaped across the bed, his gloved hands trembling, and grabbed her. Lauren fought back, the two rolling off the bed and onto the ground, but Stephen's hands remained tight around her neck. She managed to reach up and pull off his mask, and upon recognizing her assailant, whispered her last dying words, "Stephen, please stop." By Stephen's estimate, it took her as long as 15 minutes to stop breathing. After dragging her body into the bathtub, Stephen spent the entirety of the next day in his own apartment before returning to Lauren's after midnight with hacksaw in hand. There, following his plan of perfect murder to a T, he dismembered and decapitated her, wrapped the remains in black garbage bags, and disposed of them in various garbage bins around campus, except the torso, which he placed in the bin behind Barrister's Hall, which of course would soon prove a grave miscalculation. One of the reasons interrogations are so fascinating to observe is that we are flies on the wall to both the cop and criminal mindset. When they are smart and savvy enough, we are able to see what tactics work for both police and subject, and which don't. With the privilege of hindsight, as in Stephen's case, we can now see the picture as a whole, his entire plan, where he succeeded and where he failed. While his tactic of stonewalling investigators worked in the short term, in the end for Stephen, the mountain of evidence was simply insurmountable. It appears that, like many killers, Stephen suffers from delusions of grandeur. In February of 2018, upon applying for appeal, he chose to represent himself. He argued that his constitutional rights had been violated during the trial, and that because of his mental state after the alleged seizure, he should never have been interrogated and therefore could not have consented to a search of his apartment. The appeal was rejected. His latest attempt, where he argued that prosecutors used stolen documents against him, was dismissed in December of 2022. Stephen McDaniel is currently serving a life sentence in Georgia's Hancock State Prison without the possibility of parole. If you found this to be a shocking insight into a killer's mind, wait until you watch our video on Russell Pierce Jones, one of the craziest interrogations that has ever been captured on video.